Shannon and I are talking about Home today, and I must say at the top, this game scared the crap out of me. This was terrifying, and it surprised me how terrifying it actually was because it's so simple looking. There's some moments in this game where I had to look away from the screen. Every time I had to go through a door, I would tap it, then I would have to look away because I didn't want anything to jump out at me. It was just that terrifying because the ambiance that was created in this game is so ominous. Like, you just don't know what's gonna come around any corner. I mean, the game does ask you to turn off the lights and put headphones on, so I did what the game asked me to do, and I should have kept the lights on. Well, I kept the lights on that night because I couldn't actually sleep.
This game is actually terrifying. You look at it and you're like, what's the big deal? You're this guy who might be Conan O'Brien walking around in a house and it's all 8-bit looking, but just the presentation of this game, the way it's set up, you first have your eyes open, you don't know where you are, you don't necessarily know who you are, and then you have to go about exploring things. So you go from room to room, trying to find clues as to one, where you are, and two, what exactly has happened here. And as you go on, you pick up clues. You don't actually have to look at everything, and in fact, I would recommend that you don't look at everything because the game changes depending on what you do.
It's a choose your own adventure game, essentially. And so every decision that I was making, I really found myself having a little bit of an anxiety attack because I didn't know if I should keep the knife, and I didn't know if I should keep the photo, because what happens if later I'm accused of doing something that I don't even remember doing? So I'm thinking about what might happen in the future, and I don't know if everything that I'm picking up is good or bad for me, but I feel like I should pick it up because what if I'm gonna need it later? This game really plays with your judgment. It plays with just overall decision making. It's ported so perfectly, and if you're looking for a scare, this is definitely it.
I've played it on both PC and now on the iPad, and I gotta say, now that I've played the iPad version, I do prefer it to the PC because with the iPad, it's right in front of you. You feel more connected to this horrible stuff that's going on, that's unfolding as you play, and just the way things are presented here, Home is a narrative masterpiece, and when you're done playing, it tells you off the top, it's better to play this thing in one sitting, so you set aside an hour or an hour and a half and go through it. And I love that it tells you how long it's gonna take.
Exactly.
Because otherwise people might not know, they might give up on it, they might feel like, oh, I gotta stop and come back to it. But if you play it as one whole thing, it really feels like a movie, like you're living through this guy's horror and realizing what exactly has gone on. You gotta get into this, you gotta play Home, especially if you like things like the original Resident Evil. Gave me that same vibe, minus all the zombies.
If you like horror, this is something that you really need to get into. If you have an iPad, there's no reason why you shouldn't have this game at all. Shaun, what are you scoring Home?
It gets a 10.
It's getting a 9 from me.